Welcome everyone. On this channel, we use AI to break down big topics like politics without bias or emotion. So, what's going on? Joe Biden is wrapping up his presidency, leaving behind a mix of big wins, major challenges, and some outright controversies. But how did he actually perform? We've got the economy, foreign policy, social issues, and leadership to consider. And by the end of this video, AI will assign him an academic grade, A, B, C, D, or F. Before we get into all that, make sure to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and like this video so you don't miss out on weekly analyses. Thanks in advance. And now, let's dive in. The economy. Biden oversaw record job growth as the economy rebounded from the COVID-19 pandemic. Over 12 million jobs were added during his first 2 years, dropping the unemployment rate to 3.4%, the lowest in over 50 years. His administration also passed the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure law to improve roads, bridges, and broadband access. Sounds good, but inflation hit a 40-year high of 9.1% in June 2022. While global factors like supply chain disruptions and the war in Ukraine played a role, domestic policies, such as the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, may have added excess liquidity to the economy, exacerbating inflation. Gas prices surged past $5 per gallon before retreating. The Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes further strained households, though these actions were independent of Biden's direct influence. While inflation wasn't entirely his fault, it still occurred on his watch, and critics argue that his fiscal policies contributed. Verdict? It's a mixed bag. Job recovery was significant, but inflation, partially beyond his control, tarnished these achievements. Foreign policy. On the positive side, Biden rallied NATO allies to support Ukraine, sending over $75 billion in aid to counter Russia's invasion. The CHIPS and Science Act, passed in 2022, secured U.S. semiconductor production and reduced reliance on foreign supply chains. But here's the flip side. The chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan resulted in the deaths of 13 U.S. service members and left behind billions of dollars in military equipment. While the decision to leave was influenced by the 2020 Doha Agreement, signed under the previous administration, the execution fell under Biden's leadership, raising questions about planning and accountability. Relations with China also remain tense, with limited progress on trade, Taiwan, and espionage concerns. Though some challenges were inherited, mismanagement in Afghanistan was squarely on Biden's watch. Verdict? Biden made strides in restoring global standing but stumbled badly on key issues like Afghanistan. Social issues. Biden championed progressive causes, signing the Inflation Reduction Act to combat climate change, investing $369 billion in renewable energy, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions by up to 40% by 2030. The expanded child tax credit lifted 3.7 million children out of poverty in 2021. And the negatives? The border saw record migrant crossings, with over 2.76 million encounters in fiscal year 2022 alone. While the root causes of migration, such as instability in Latin America, are long-standing, critics argue that the administration's messaging and enforcement policies may have contributed to the surge. Legislative efforts on voting rights and student debt relief were blocked due to congressional gridlock, limiting Biden's ability to deliver. These were systemic issues largely outside his control, but they still happened during his term. Final take? Progress in some areas, but systemic and leadership limitations held him back on others. Leadership and unity. Biden used a calmer tone than his predecessor and pursued bipartisan wins, such as the infrastructure bill and the PACT Act, expanding health care for veterans exposed to toxins. But the reality? Despite these efforts, polarization remained high. A 2023 Pew Research poll found that 63% of Americans believe the country was more divided than ever. Public trust in institutions stayed near historic lows, with Biden's approval ratings averaging around 42%. While this deep division reflects broader societal trends outside his control, Biden's promise to unify the nation saw limited success. Verdict? A commendable effort, but tangible results were limited by entrenched divisions. Final grade? Considering his mixed record on the economy, foreign policy, social issues, and leadership, and recognizing factors outside his control. AI assigns Joe Biden a final grade of B-. So we asked AI, how would you explain your grade to Joe Biden if you were his teacher? Joe, your presidency showed both the potential and limitations of leadership in a polarized era. You scored big wins, but persistent challenges remind us that leadership isn't just about legislation. It's about impact. As you leave office, your legacy will depend on how these successes and gaps are remembered, and whether the foundations you've built will endure. And that's it. Let me know in the comments if you agree with AI's take. While you're at it, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.